They didn't want me at the wedding planning session. That much was obvious from the moment I walked into the cafe. My son Derek sat at a corner table with his fiancée Vanessa and her parents. 4 chairs, 4 coffee cups, 4 people who belonged. I stood at the entrance holding my jacket, watching them pretend not to notice me. Dad. Derek finally looked up. His smile was the kind you give to a waiter who's interrupting an important conversation. I thought we said 2 o'clock? It's 1:45. Right, well, we started early. He glanced at Vanessa. She wore a cream-colored sweater that probably cost more than my car payment. Her dark hair was pulled back tight, the kind of hairstyle that requires professional maintenance. She didn't look at me. We can grab another chair, I said. Vanessa's mother, Patricia, touched her daughter's wrist, a small gesture, but I caught it. Actually, we're just wrapping up the venue discussion. We've made most of the big decisions already. I see. I stayed standing. My hands felt too large, too rough. I'd come straight from work, still wearing my Carhartt jacket with the paint stains on the sleeve. Everyone at that table looked like they'd never touched a paintbrush in their lives. Derek stood up halfway, the kind of gesture that looks polite but means nothing. We're doing the reception at the Belmont Estate. Vanessa's parents have connections there. That's the place out on Riverside Drive? I knew it. I'd driven past it 100 times. Stone pillars, fountain out front, valet parking. You know it? Vanessa spoke for the first time. Her voice had that particular quality, the one that makes every statement sound like a question she already knows the answer to. I've seen it. It's really exclusive. She said this as a fact, not a brag. They only do about 20 weddings a year. My mother went to prep school with the event coordinator. Patricia nodded. We're very fortunate. The deposit alone is substantial. I looked at Derek. He was looking at his phone. Well, that sounds nice, I said. What can I contribute? The silence lasted 3 seconds. Doesn't sound like much, but try standing in front of 4 people who won't look at you for 3 full seconds. It's enough time to understand exactly where you stand. Vanessa's father, Richard, cleared his throat. He was a tall man with silver hair and the kind of tan that comes from golf courses, not construction sites. We've got the major expenses covered. Patricia and I want to give the kids a proper start. I appreciate that, I said. But Derek's my son. I'd like to help. Of course. Patricia's smile was warm and empty. There will be smaller items. Perhaps you could handle the rehearsal dinner? The rehearsal dinner. I repeated it back to her. It's traditionally the groom's family's responsibility anyway, Vanessa added. She was looking at her phone now, too. Nothing too elaborate. Maybe that Italian place on 5th Street? The one with the patio? I knew the place. Decent food, cloth napkins, $30 a plate, maybe 40 with wine. Sure, I said. I can do that. Perfect. Derek sat back down. Dad, we'll send you the details later. Right now we're trying to finalize the guest list, and it's kind of a nightmare. How many people? 250, Vanessa said. She said it the way someone might say only 250, like it was a small, intimate gathering. That's a lot of people. My family's large, she said, and Daddy's business associates will expect invitations. Richard nodded. Can't skip them. Bad for relationships. I stood there another moment, waiting for someone to ask me to sit down. No one did. Well, I'll let you all get back to it, I said. Derek looked up. For just a second, I saw something in his eyes. Guilt, maybe, or discomfort. Then it was gone. Thanks for understanding, Dad. This is just really detailed stuff. Lots of vendor talk. Would probably bore you anyway. Right. I walked out of the cafe and stood on the sidewalk. Through the window, I could see them lean back in. Vanessa was laughing at something Richard said. Derek had his arm around her shoulder. They looked like a photograph in a magazine. Beautiful, complete, perfect without me. I drove home in silence. No radio, just the sound of the engine and my own breathing. My wife Linda was in the kitchen when I walked in. She took one look at my face and set down her coffee. That bad? She asked. They didn't want me there. Did they say that? They didn't have to. I dropped my keys on the counter. 4 chairs, 4 people. They started early, so I'd show up after they were done. Linda crossed her arms. She's a small woman, barely 5'3", but she's got a way of standing that makes her seem taller. What did Derek say? That it would bore me. Vendor talk. Vendor talk. She shook her head. It's his wedding. You're his father. Yeah, well. I opened the refrigerator, stared at the contents without seeing them. Apparently my contribution is the rehearsal dinner. They suggested the Italian place on 5th. The one with the patio? That's the one. Linda was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was careful. This is Vanessa, isn't it? It's all of them. Her parents, her, Derek, going along with it. What did she say? I closed the refrigerator. She called the venue exclusive, made sure I knew they only do 20 weddings a year. Her mother name-dropped the event coordinator. Jesus. And the reception's at the Belmont Estate. Linda's eyebrows went up. That place is $15,000 minimum. At least. And they don't want your money. They want me to buy pasta for 30 people. I leaned against the counter. You know what the worst part is? Derek just sat there, didn't say a word, didn't tell them I was coming, didn't save me a chair, just sat there with his arm around her like I was some guy from work who stopped by to say hello. Linda came around the counter and put her hand on my arm. He's making a mistake. He's embarrassed of me. Then he's an idiot. I looked at her. 32 years of marriage. She'd seen me at my worst and never once looked at me the way Vanessa had today, like I was something to be managed, something in the way. I need to make a phone call, I said. Who? Just someone I know, about a thing. She studied my face. Are you okay? Yeah. I kissed her forehead. I'm fine. I went into the study and closed the door. The room was small, barely big enough for a desk and a filing cabinet, but it was mine. I sat down in the old leather chair and pulled out my phone. The number was saved under James Private. I'd met James Whitmore 15 years ago on a job site. Back then, he was fresh out of grad school, working for a development company, learning the business from the ground up. Smart kid, asked good questions. We'd stayed in touch over the years, had coffee every few months, traded favors here and there. He answered on the second ring. It's been a while. I know. I need some information. What kind? The kind you don't put in writing. There was a pause. Then, I'm listening. Richard Harrington. Owns Harrington Development Group. What do you know about him? The Harrington? James let out a low whistle. That's some high-end real estate. Why? He's going to be my son's father-in-law. Congratulations, I guess. Maybe. What's his situation? Another pause. I could hear computer keys clicking in the background. James was the kind of guy who kept information close. He'd made a career out of knowing things other people didn't. Publicly, he's solid, good reputation, sits on some boards, donates to the right charities. And privately? How private are we talking? The kind of private that matters. More typing. Then James said, he's leveraged, heavy. Most of his properties are mortgaged to the ceiling. He's been refinancing every 2 years to keep the payments manageable. That's not unusual in real estate. No, but his portfolio's unbalanced. Too much luxury residential, not enough commercial. The luxury market's been soft for 18 months. He's probably feeling it. I leaned back in my chair. How much is he worth on paper? Maybe $80 million in assets. But against that, probably $60 million in debt. So his real net worth is maybe $20 million. And that's if he can sell at current market value, which is a big if. What about cash flow? That I don't know for sure, but if I had to guess, tight. He's got the lifestyle, the cars, the country club. That all costs money. If his rental income drops, or he has a few vacancies, he's going to feel it fast. I wrote this down on a notepad. Numbers, facts, things you can work with. Why are you asking? James said. Just want to know who I'm dealing with. Be careful. Guys like Harrington, they're all image. You scratch the surface, sometimes there's nothing underneath. Thanks. Anytime. We should grab coffee soon. Yeah, soon. I hung up and sat there looking at my notes. Richard Harrington. 80 million in assets, 60 million in debt, a lifestyle that required constant cash flow, and a daughter who wanted a 250-person wedding at the Belmont Estate. I thought about the way Vanessa had looked at me in that cafe, the way Patricia had assigned me the rehearsal dinner like she was giving a task to the help, the way Derek had let it happen. Then I thought about something else, something I hadn't told anyone in 20 years, not even Linda. I opened the filing cabinet and pulled out a folder from the back. Old documents, faded ink, signatures and stamps from a different era. I spread them out on the desk and looked at them for a long time. Then I picked up my phone again and made another call. This one went to a lawyer. While you're here, hit the hype button. Don't forget to subscribe and support this channel with a like. And tell us below. Have you ever faced something like this? The wedding was 4 months away. I had time. That's what I told myself as I sat in traffic Tuesday morning, heading to a job site in the industrial district. Time to figure out what I wanted. Time to decide if I was being petty or justified. Time to see if Derek would come to his senses. The radio played some talk show about interest rates. I wasn't listening. My phone buzzed. A text from Derek. Hey, Dad, Vanessa's parents want to do a family dinner next weekend. Saturday at 7, their place. Dress nice. Dress nice. Like I didn't know how to dress for dinner. I typed back, I'll be there. No response. Just 3 dots that appeared and disappeared, then nothing. The job site was a warehouse renovation. My crew was already there when I pulled up. I've been doing this for 37 years. Started as a laborer, worked my way up, eventually started my own company. Nothing fancy. 3 full-time guys, a couple part-timers, steady work. We do good work. That's the reputation. Morning, boss. That was Tommy, my lead carpenter. Good kid. 28 years old, married, new baby at home. He worked hard and didn't complain. Morning. What are we looking at? Electrical's done. We can start framing the interior walls today. I grabbed my tool belt from the truck and got to work. Physical labor clears my head. Always has. There's something about measuring, cutting, fitting, building. You can see what you've done. You can stand back at the end of the day and point at something real. We worked until lunch. I was sitting on a stack of lumber eating a sandwich when my phone rang. Unknown number. This is David. Mr. Brennan, this is Elizabeth Chen from Whitfield and Associates. You contacted us yesterday regarding a consultation? The lawyer. Right. Thanks for calling back. I've reviewed the preliminary documents you emailed. Do you have time to discuss them? Hold on. I walked away from the crew, out into the parking lot. Okay, go ahead. The documents are legitimate. The trust was established in 1989, and you are listed as the primary beneficiary. However, it was structured as a discretionary trust, which means the trustee has significant control over distributions. Who's the trustee? According to the most recent filing, that would be yourself. I already knew this, but hearing it confirmed made it real. So I control it. Yes, and based on the asset summary you provided, the current value is approximately $48 million. I said nothing, just stood there in the parking lot, phone pressed to my ear, watching a semi-truck rumble past on the highway. Mr. Brennan? I'm here. May I ask what you intend to do with this information? I don't know yet. If you're considering any major distributions or restructuring, I'd recommend we meet in person. There are tax implications and legal requirements you'll need to understand. I'll think about it. One more thing. This trust has been dormant for a long time. No distributions in over 15 years. If you suddenly activate it, it will raise questions. From the IRS, from anyone who has a reason to look into your finances. Are you prepared for that? I'll call you back. I hung up and stood there. $48 million. Money I'd never touched. Money I'd almost forgotten about. It had been my father's. He'd been a different kind of man than me. Smarter, maybe. Definitely luckier. He'd bought land in the 70s when it was cheap, held it through the 80s, sold it right before the dot-com bubble burst. Made a fortune. Then he died of a heart attack at 63, left everything in a trust, told me to use it when I needed it. I never needed it. I built my own life, my own business. I didn't want his money, didn't want the questions, the attention, the responsibility. But things change. I went back to work. We framed walls all afternoon. I hammered nails until my shoulders ached. Tommy asked me twice if I was okay. I told him I was fine. At 5 o'clock, I paid the crew and headed home. Linda was in the garage when I pulled in, organizing boxes. You're home early, she said. Wanted to beat traffic. She looked at me. She always knows. What's going on? I made some calls yesterday about money. What kind of money? I told her. All of it. The trust, the lawyer, the amount. Her face went pale. David, that's... I know. Why now? You've never touched it. You always said you didn't want it. I didn't. But now Derek's marrying into a family who thinks I'm nobody. And I'm tired of being nobody. Linda set down the box she was holding. You're not nobody. You've built a good life. You've worked hard. You've been a good father. Have I? What does that mean? It means my son is ashamed of me. It means his fiancée looks at me like I'm beneath her. It means her parents are paying for a $250,000 wedding and they threw me a bone by letting me buy dinner for 30 people. So you're going to what? Throw money around? Show them you're rich? That's not you? Maybe it should be. She crossed her arms. This is about revenge. This is about respect. It's the same thing. I shook my head. No. Revenge is emotional. This is strategic. Strategic. She laughed, but there was no humor in it. You sound like a businessman. My father was a businessman. Maybe I inherited more than just his money. Linda stared at me. Then she said, I've never seen you like this. Like what? Cold. That word hit harder than I expected. I looked away. I'm sorry, she said. That was unfair. No, you're right. I met her eyes. But I'm done being warm to people who treat me like I don't matter. She didn't argue, just nodded slowly. What's your plan? I don't have one yet, but I'm going to that dinner Saturday, and I'm going to pay attention. Saturday came too fast and too slow. I spent the days working, trying not to think about it. Linda bought me a new shirt, dark blue, the kind with buttons that aren't flannel. I wore it with khakis and my only pair of dress shoes. You look nice, she said. I look uncomfortable. You look like you're trying. That's what matters. The Harringtons lived in Riverside Hills, a gated community north of the city. I'd driven past the entrance 100 times, but never inside. The guard at the gate checked my name on a list, then waved me through. The houses were massive. Not just big, massive. Stone facades, circular driveways, 3-car garages, trees planted in perfect rows, lawns so green they looked fake. Richard and Patricia's house was near the back of the development. 2 stories, white columns, a fountain in the front yard. I parked my truck between a Mercedes and a Lexus and felt like I'd shown up to a black tie event in work boots. Derek answered the door. He was wearing slacks and a sweater, the kind of casual expensive that takes effort. Hey, Dad. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Come on in. The interior was exactly what I expected. Marble floors, high ceilings, art on the walls that probably cost more than my truck. Everything was white or cream or beige. It looked like a hotel. Mom's in the kitchen, Derek said. Dad's in the study. Vanessa's upstairs getting ready. Getting ready? I thought dinner was at 7. It is. She just likes to look perfect. Right. I followed him into the living room. Richard was standing near a bar cart, pouring something amber into a crystal glass. David. He extended his hand. Good to see you. Richard. His grip was firm but brief. He handed me a glass. Scotch okay? Sure. It was good scotch. I could tell immediately. Smooth, expensive, the kind you don't buy at a grocery store. So, Richard said, settling into a leather armchair, Derek tells me you're in construction. I own a small contracting company. Renovations, mostly. That's honest work. Important work. People always need builders. I sipped my drink. We stay busy. I'm sure you do. This city's growing fast. Too fast, if you ask me. But growth is good for business. Your business is development, right? Real estate development. Commercial and residential. We just broke ground on a new luxury condo project downtown. 30 units. Pre-sales are strong. That's impressive. He smiled. It's a good time to be in real estate, if you know what you're doing. The implication was subtle but clear. He knew what he was doing. I, presumably, did not. Patricia entered from the kitchen, carrying a tray of appetizers. David, so glad you could make it. I hope you're hungry. I appreciate the invitation. It's important for families to spend time together, especially before a wedding. Don't you think? I do. Vanessa came down the stairs in a black dress that was simple and expensive. Her hair was down now, falling in waves over her shoulders. She looked like she was going to a gala, not a family dinner. Hi, she said to the room in general, then looked at me. David. Not Dad, not even Mr. Brennan, just David. Vanessa. We sat down to dinner in a dining room that could seat 12. The table was set with real china and cloth napkins. Patricia brought out course after course, some kind of salad with fruit and nuts, salmon with asparagus, roasted potatoes. Everything was beautiful and tasteless. The conversation was polite and empty. Richard talked about his golf game. Patricia talked about the wedding. Vanessa talked about her job at a marketing firm, something involving social media strategies for luxury brands. Derek said almost nothing, just ate and nodded and smiled when Vanessa touched his arm. David, Patricia said at one point, Derek mentioned you're handling the rehearsal dinner. Have you started planning? Not yet. I've got some ideas. Well, if you need any help, just ask. I know the best caterers in the city. I'll keep that in mind. It's important to do it right. The rehearsal dinner sets the tone for the whole weekend. I understand. Richard leaned back in his chair. You know, David, if you want, I could connect you with my guy. He does all our corporate events. Very professional, very reliable. I appreciate it. but I think I can manage." There was a pause. Just a beat. But in that beat, I saw Richard and Patricia exchange a glance. The kind of glance that says, "We offered. Not our fault if he screws it up." After dinner, we moved back to the living room for coffee. I sat on a couch that was too clean, too perfect. Everything in this house felt untouchable. Like if I moved the wrong way, I'd break something valuable. "So, David," Richard said, stirring sugar into his coffee, "what do you think of the Belmont estate?" "I haven't seen it." "You should. It's a beautiful venue, historic building, impeccable service. They've hosted governors, CEOs, people from all over the world." "Sounds exclusive?" "It is. That's the point." He smiled. "We want Derek and Vanessa's wedding to be memorable, something people talk about for years." I nodded. Every wedding should be memorable. "Of course. But there's memorable, and then there's unforgettable. We're aiming for unforgettable." Patricia touched Richard's knee. A gentle reminder. He was bragging too much. "The important thing is that the kids are happy," she said, her voice warm. "That's all that matters." "Absolutely," I agreed. But I was watching Derek. He was sitting next to Vanessa, his hand on hers, his expression neutral. He looked comfortable here, like he belonged in this house with its marble floors and crystal glasses and untouchable perfection. Like he'd already left the life he'd grown up in, the life I'd built for him. I finished my coffee and stood up. I should get going. Early morning tomorrow. "Of course." Patricia rose. "Thank you for coming. It was lovely to spend time together." "Thanks for having me." Derek walked me to the door. We stood on the front porch, the fountain bubbling behind us, the air cold and still. "Dad," he said, "thanks for coming. I know this isn't really your scene." "Your scene?" I looked at him. "This is my son's life. That makes it my scene." He shifted uncomfortably. "I just mean, this whole formal dinner thing. I know you're more of a casual guy." "Is that what you think I am? A casual guy?" "That's not what I meant." "What did you mean?" He didn't answer, just looked away. I put my hand on his shoulder. He felt small, younger than 26. "Derek, you're my son. I love you. I want you to be happy. But I need you to understand something." "What?" "I'm not ashamed of who I am, and you shouldn't be either." His jaw tightened. "I'm not ashamed." "Then why do I feel like I'm an embarrassment to you?" "You're not." "Then why wasn't there a chair for me at the café? Why am I getting the rehearsal dinner while they're paying for everything else? Why does Vanessa call me David instead of Dad? She barely knows you. Because you haven't let her? Because you've kept me at a distance? Because you're more comfortable here than you've ever been at home?" He pulled away. "That's not fair." "Isn't it?" We stood there in silence. I could see my truck in the driveway, old and practical and out of place. I could see the fountain and the columns and the perfect lawn. "I'll see you around," I said. I walked to my truck and drove away. In the rearview mirror, Derek stood on the porch, watching me go. I didn't look back. James called back 3 days later. "They're interested," he said. "Harrington's people want to meet. They didn't say yes, but they didn't say no either." "When?" "Friday, 2 o'clock, his office downtown." "I'll be there." "David, you sure about this?" "I'm sure." Friday came. I wore a suit. Not the tuxedo, but a dark suit I'd bought years ago for funerals. Linda helped me with the tie. "You look good," she said. "I look like I'm going to court." "Close enough," she kissed me. "Be smart." "I will." Harrington Development Group was on the 23rd floor of a glass tower downtown. The lobby was marble and chrome. A receptionist who looked like a model directed me to a conference room. Richard was already there. So was another man, older, in a gray suit. Richard's lawyer, probably. "David." Richard stood up, extended his hand. "Thanks for coming." We shook. His grip was firmer than last time. "This is Thomas Kerr, my attorney." Kerr nodded. "Mr. Brennan." "Mr. Kerr." We sat down, a glass table between us, a view of the city through floor-to-ceiling windows. Richard folded his hands. "I'll be honest, David. When James Whitmore reached out about the Riverside property, I was surprised. I didn't know you were in the market for investments. I'm diversifying." "Smart. Real estate's a good play, but I have to ask, why that property specifically?" "It's undervalued. The lawsuit's scaring people off." "I'm not scared." He smiled. "You've done your homework." "Always." Kerr leaned forward. "Mr. Brennan, you understand that property has significant legal encumbrances. The contractor lien alone is over $200,000. If you buy it, you're assuming that liability. I'm aware. And you're comfortable with that? I am. Richard and Kerr exchanged a glance. Then Richard said, James mentioned $8 million. That's a fair offer. Below market, but fair given the circumstances. Then we have a deal? Not quite. I need to know something first. What? Why you're really doing this? I looked him in the eye. I told you, it's an investment. Bullshit. His voice was calm, but there was an edge to it. You're Derek's father. We're about to be family. And now you're buying one of my distressed properties for 20% below market value. That's not a coincidence. I leaned back. You think I'm trying to hurt you? Are you? No. Then what? I'm trying to help myself. You've got a property you need to unload. I've got capital. It's a business transaction. He studied me. Then he laughed, short and sharp. You know what? Fine. If you want to throw your money at a problem property, be my guest. But don't come crying to me when you realize what you've bought. I won't. He stood up. Thomas, draw up the papers. David, you'll have the contracts by Monday. Close in 30 days. Agreed. We shook hands again. This time his grip was angry. I left the building and called James. How'd it go? He asked. We have a deal. Jesus, you actually did it. I told you I would. What's your plan now? Buy the property, resolve the lien, flip it for $12 million. That's a $4 million profit. And Richard loses the property and the equity he's built up. It's a win for me, a loss for him. He's going to hate you. Good. The next week was paperwork. Contracts, inspections, due diligence. I hired a lawyer, a different one than Elizabeth, someone who specialized in commercial real estate. He found more problems with the Riverside property, deferred maintenance, zoning issues, a tenant lawsuit pending. You sure you want this? He asked. I'm sure. It's a mess. That's why it's cheap. I wired the $8 million on a Wednesday morning. The money moved from the trust account to escrow in seconds. $50 million. I'd spent 8 of it without blinking. The property was officially mine 2 days later. That night, Derek called. Dad, what the hell are you doing? What do you mean? You bought one of Richard's properties? Are you serious? It's a good investment. It's not about the investment. You're buying from my future father-in-law. That's weird. Why? It's just business. It's not just business. It's family. Exactly. I thought you'd be happy. I'm investing in his company, supporting his work. Don't bullshit me. Richard's pissed. He thinks you're trying to screw him. Then Richard doesn't understand business. Dad, please, don't do this. Whatever this is, just stop. I'm not doing anything. I bought a property, that's all. You're making things weird. I'm making things profitable. He was quiet for a long moment. Then, Vanessa's upset. About what? About you. About this. She thinks you're trying to sabotage the wedding. That's ridiculous. Is it? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're going out of your way to piss off her family. Derek, I'm investing in real estate. That's all. If Richard's upset, that's his problem. No, Dad, it's my problem. Because now I have to deal with Vanessa's parents thinking my dad's some kind of hostile investor or something. I'm not hostile. I'm smart. You're being an asshole. I sat there holding the phone. Linda came into the room. What happened? She asked. Derek called. He's angry. About the property? Yeah. She sat down next to me. What did you expect? I don't know. Maybe I expected him to see that I'm not just some guy in a paint-stained jacket, that I can play in their world too. By buying Richard's distressed property? By being smart. By showing them I'm not broke and stupid. You're not broke. You're not stupid. But you are being cruel. Cruel? Yes. You're hurting Derek to hurt Richard. You're using your son's wedding as a battlefield. He started it. He's 26 years old. You're 58. Act like it. She left the room. I sat there alone. Again. The next morning, I got a call from an unknown number. Mr. Brennan, this is Patricia Harrington. I sat up straighter. Patricia, I hope I'm not catching you at a bad time. No, what can I do for you? I wanted to talk to you about the Riverside property. What about it? Richard told me you purchased it. I think that's wonderful. It's nice to see family supporting family. I appreciate that. However, her voice changed, softer but sharper. I'm concerned about how this might affect Derek and Vanessa. They're very sensitive right now. Wedding planning is stressful, and any tension between you and Richard could spill over into their relationship. I'm not trying to create tension. I understand, but perception matters, And right now, the perception is that you're undermining Richard. That's not my intention. Then what is your intention? To make a profit. She was quiet. Then, David, can I be honest with you? Please? I think you're a good man. I think you love your son. But I also think you're out of your depth here. Richard operates in a very specific world. High-stakes real estate, complex deals, significant risks. It's not the same as residential construction. I'm aware of the differences. Are you? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you've bought a problem property to prove a point. And that's not smart business. That's ego. Maybe. David, I'm not trying to insult you. I'm trying to help you. If you're serious about real estate investing, talk to Richard. He can guide you. He can introduce you to the right people. But what you're doing now, buying distressed properties out from under him, that's adversarial. And it's going to hurt Derek. I'll keep that in mind. Please do. For Derek's sake. She hung up. I sat there thinking. Patricia was smart. Smarter than Richard, probably. She'd seen through the business excuse immediately. She knew what I was doing, and she was trying to stop me. Too late. That afternoon, I met with a property management company. They specialized in luxury apartments. I hired them to take over Riverside, fix the maintenance issues, resolve the tenant lawsuit, market the vacancies. What's your goal? The manager asked. Full occupancy within 6 months. Then sell. That's ambitious. Can you do it? For the right price, yeah. I doubled their fee. We'll have it rented in 4 months, he said. Good. 2 weeks later, Gil called. Got something else for you, he said. What? Richard's son, Trevor, the one in Europe. What about him? He's back in town, and he's in trouble. What kind of trouble? Gambling again. Lost big at a private poker game. Owes $60,000 to some guys who aren't patient. How do you know this? I still have contacts in the department. They're keeping an eye on it. The guys he owes are connected. Not mafia, but close enough. What's Richard doing about it? Paying it, again. He wired the money yesterday. I leaned back. $60,000. That's not small. No, and it's the second time this year. First time was 40 in Vegas. Now 60 here. Richard's bleeding cash on his kid's stupidity. Does Derek know? Doubt it. Richard keeps this stuff quiet. Doesn't want people knowing his son's a degenerate gambler. Interesting. What are you going to do with it? I don't know yet, but it's useful. Brennan, be careful. You're poking a hornet's nest. I know. I hung up and sat there thinking. Richard was paying his son's debts. Significant debts. Money he didn't have. Money he was pulling from somewhere, probably from his business. I called James. I need to know something, I said. If Richard's pulling cash out of his company to cover personal expenses, where's it coming from? Probably equity. He could be taking draws against future profits, or borrowing against his properties. Is that sustainable? Not long term. Eventually the lenders notice. They start asking questions. If they think he's using business assets to cover personal debts, they can call the loans. How do I find out? You'd need access to his books, financial statements, loan documents. Can you get those? Not legally. They're private company records. But hypothetically? He sighed. Hypothetically, if someone filed a complaint with the lenders, they might investigate, look into his financials, see if he's violating loan covenants. Who could file that complaint? Anyone with a vested interest? A creditor, a business partner, a competitor. An investor who owns one of his properties? James was quiet. Then, yeah, that would work. Good. David, this is getting dangerous. I know. No, I mean legally dangerous. You start filing complaints. Richard's going to fight back. He'll come after you. Let him. I hung up and started drafting a letter. The complaint went to Richard's primary lender on a Tuesday morning. I didn't sign it personally, my lawyer did, representing a concerned investor with material interest in Harrington Development Group's financial stability. The language was careful, professional. It raised questions about Richard's cash flow management, his use of company funds for non-business purposes, and his ability to service existing debt obligations. It was also devastating. By Thursday, I got a call from James. They're investigating, he said. The bank. They've requested a full audit of Richard's financials. How long will that take? Couple weeks. But David, this is serious. If they find what you think they'll find, they could call his loans. All of them. I know. You're going to bankrupt him? Maybe. That's not maybe. That's definitely. If his loans get called, he can't refinance fast enough. He'll have to sell, fire sale prices. He'll lose everything. Then he shouldn't have been using company money to pay his son's gambling debts. Jesus Christ, James sounded tired. What happened to you? Nothing happened to me. I just stopped being invisible. I hung up. Linda was sitting on the couch when I walked into the living room. She looked up from her book. What did you do? She asked. Filed a complaint? Against Richard? Against his company, with his lender. She closed her book. David. What? This is too far. No, this is exactly far enough. You're going to destroy him. He deserves it. Why? Because he's rich? Because his daughter looked down on you? Because Derek chose them over you? All of that. And because he's a fraud. He pretends to be this successful developer, this pillar of the community, but he's drowning in debt and propping up his lifestyle with borrowed money and shady accounting. And you're the one to expose him? Why not? She stood up. Because it's not about justice. It's about revenge. And revenge is eating you alive. I'm fine. No, you're not. You're obsessed. You spend every night in that study making calls, planning moves. You barely sleep. You barely eat. You're turning into someone I don't recognize. Good. She stared at me. What? Good. Maybe the person I was before was too weak, too passive, too willing to accept being treated like I don't matter. You're not weak. You're kind. There's a difference. Kind gets you a chair in the corner and a rehearsal dinner at the Italian place. Kind gets you a son who's ashamed of you. Kind gets you nothing. She shook her head. You're wrong. Then prove it. She didn't answer, just walked out of the room. I stood there alone. The wedding was 6 weeks away. The engagement party had been 3 weeks ago. Time was moving fast. I got a text from Derek. We need to talk. In person, I replied. When? Tomorrow, noon, the café on 7th. I'll be there. The next day I showed up early, ordered coffee, sat at a table near the window. Derek arrived at 12:15. He looked tired, stressed. He sat down without ordering anything. Thanks for coming, he said. Of course. He rubbed his face. Dad, what are you doing? I don't know what you mean. Yes, you do. The property, the complaint. Richard's freaking out. His lender's doing an audit. He thinks you're trying to ruin him. I'm protecting my investment. Bullshit. You bought that property to mess with him, and now you're filing complaints? That's not business. That's personal. Maybe it's both. Why? I looked at him. My son. 26 years old. I'd raised him, changed his diapers, taught him to ride a bike, paid for his college. And now he was sitting across from me, defending the man who'd looked at me like I was nothing. Because they don't respect me, I said. Richard, Patricia, Vanessa. They look at me like I'm some blue-collar nobody who doesn't belong in their world. And you let them. That's not true. Isn't it? When's the last time you defended me? When's the last time you told Vanessa that I'm your father and I deserve respect? She respects you. She calls me David, not Dad, David, like I'm some distant relative she has to tolerate. That's just how she talks. No, Derek, that's how she sees me, and you're okay with it. He was quiet. You want to know what I'm doing? I continued. I'm showing them who I am. I'm showing them that I'm not some guy they can pat on the head and dismiss. I'm showing them I have power too. By destroying Richard? If that's what it takes. That's insane. No. What's insane is you choosing them over me. What's insane is you being ashamed of where you came from. I'm not ashamed. Then why wasn't there a chair for me at the cafe? Why am I handling the rehearsal dinner while they pay for everything else? Why do I feel like I'm an afterthought in my own son's life? His jaw tightened. Because you make everything about you. Because you can't just be happy for me. Because instead of supporting my relationship, you're trying to sabotage it. I'm not sabotaging anything. I'm revealing the truth. What truth? That Richard's broke. That his company's held together with duct tape and loans. That the life Vanessa thinks she's marrying into is built on sand. Derek stood up. You're unbelievable. Where are you going? Away from you, because right now I don't like who you are. He walked out. I sat there. My coffee was cold. The cafe was loud. People talking, laughing, living normal lives. I wasn't normal anymore. That night, Richard called me. We need to talk, he said. His voice was tight, controlled. About what? You know damn well about what. My office, tomorrow, 10 a.m. I'll be there. He hung up. The next morning, I showed up at his office. Same building, same floor. But this time, there was no handshake, no pleasantries. Richard sat behind his desk. Thomas Kerr, the lawyer, stood by the window. "Sit down," Richard said. I sat. "You filed a complaint against my company," he said. "I raised concerns with your lender." "Don't play semantic games with me. You know what you did. You accused me of financial mismanagement. You implied I was using company funds inappropriately." "I didn't imply anything. I stated facts." His face reddened. "Facts? You don't know the first thing about my finances." "I know enough." "You know nothing." He stood up, leaned over the desk. "You're a small-time contractor who got lucky buying one of my distressed properties. That doesn't make you a real estate mogul. That doesn't give you the right to interfere in my business. I'm an investor with a material interest in your company's stability. That gives me every right." Kerr stepped forward. "Mr. Brennan, what you've done is actionable. You've made false statements to a financial institution. That's fraud." "I made truthful statements backed by documentation." "What documentation?" "Public records, court filings, financial disclosures. It's all out there if you know where to look." "Careful." "Or what? You'll file another complaint? You'll buy another property? Go ahead, I don't care. But let me tell you something, David. You're playing a game you don't understand. And when you lose, you're going to lose big." "Is that a threat?" "It's a promise." I stood up. "I'll see myself out." "One more thing," Richard said. "Derek and Vanessa's wedding. You're not welcome." I stopped, turned around. "Excuse me?" "You heard me. You're not welcome. After what you've pulled, I don't want you anywhere near my daughter's wedding." "It's my son's wedding, too." "Derek agrees with me." "Bullshit. Ask him yourself." I pulled out my phone. Called Derek. He answered on the third ring. "Dad? Did you tell Richard I'm not welcome at your wedding?" Silence. "Derek, did you?" "Dad, it's complicated." "Yes or no?" "Vanessa's really upset. Her parents are upset. This whole thing with the property and the complaint, it's making everything worse. So you're uninviting me. I'm asking you to step back, just for a while, until things calm down." "Step back from what? Your wedding? Your life?" "Dad, please, don't make this harder than it is." "I'm not making anything hard. I'm being pushed out. Again. That's not what's happening." "Then what is happening?" He didn't answer. I hung up. Richard was smiling. "Told you." I looked at him. Really looked at him. The expensive suit, the corner office, the view of the city, all of it built on debt and lies and money he didn't have. "You're going to regret this," I said. "I doubt it." I walked out. That night, I sat in my study. The door was locked. Linda knocked twice. I didn't answer. I pulled out my phone and called Gil. "I need everything you have on Richard Harrington. Everything. Personal, professional, anything that can hurt him." "David, I already gave you everything." "Then dig deeper. There's always more." "This is getting dangerous." "I don't care." "You should. Just do it." I hung up and stared at the wall. My son had uninvited me from his wedding. My wife thought I was losing my mind. The man who'd insulted me was smiling behind his desk, and I was alone. But I wasn't done. Not even close. Gil called back 2 days later. "I've got something," he said, "but you're not going to like it." "Tell me." "Richard's in deeper trouble than I thought. The bank audit found discrepancies. He's been moving money between accounts to hide cash flow problems. Not quite fraud, but close enough." "What's the timeline?" "They're giving him 90 days to restructure his debt. If he can't, they're calling the loans." "Can he restructure?" "Not without a major capital injection. He'd need at least $15 million to satisfy the lenders, and I don't see where he's getting it." "Good. There's more. His son Trevor? The gambling thing? It's worse than I thought. He owes money to 3 different groups. Totals over $100,000 now." "Jesus." "Richard's been paying it off in installments, but the groups are getting impatient. They want it all at once." "When?" "End of the month." "That's 3 weeks." "Yeah." I leaned back in my chair. "What happens if he doesn't pay?" "They'll go after Trevor, probably hurt him, maybe worse. And if Richard does pay, he'll have to pull more money from the business, which he can't afford, which makes the lender situation worse. So he's trapped. Completely." I hung up and sat there. Richard Harrington was drowning, and I was holding his head underwater. The question was, how far was I willing to go? That night, Linda came into the study. She didn't knock, just walked in and sat down. "We need to talk," she said. "About what?" "About what you're doing to yourself." "I'm fine." "No, you're not. You're destroying a man, David. A man who's about to be your son's father-in-law. He deserves it. Maybe. But what about Derek? What about Vanessa? What about the wedding? Derek uninvited me. There is no wedding for me. Because you made it impossible for him to do anything else. You attacked his fiancée's father. You filed complaints. You bought properties to undermine him. What did you think would happen? I thought he'd stand up for me. He's 26 years old. He's in love. He's trying to keep his life together while his father wages war on his future family. What did you expect him to do? I didn't answer. David, I love you. I've loved you for 32 years, but I don't like what you're becoming. What am I becoming? Someone who cares more about winning than about what he's winning. I haven't won anything. Exactly. And you never will. Because even if you destroy Richard, even if you take everything from him, you'll still have lost Derek. And that's the only thing that matters. She left the room. I sat there. She was right. I knew she was right. But I couldn't stop. The next day, I got a call from an unknown number. Mr. Brennan, this is Vanessa. I sat up straighter. Vanessa, I need to talk to you in person. Can you meet me? Where? The park on Elm Street, the one with the pond, in an hour. I'll be there. She hung up. I drove to the park. It was cold, gray sky. Vanessa was sitting on a bench near the pond, wearing a long coat and a scarf. I sat down next to her. Thank you for coming, she said. Of course. She didn't look at me, just stared at the water. I know what you're doing, she said, to my father. I'm not doing anything to your father. Don't lie, please. I'm smarter than that. I said nothing. You bought his property. You filed complaints with his lender. You're trying to destroy him. I'm protecting my investment. No, you're getting revenge because he hurt you, because I hurt you, because Derek hurt you. I looked at her. You're right. She turned to me. For the first time, I saw something in her eyes that wasn't dismissal or superiority. It was fear. Please stop, she said. Why should I? Because Derek loves you. Because despite everything, he still wants you in his life. But if you keep doing this, you'll lose him forever. I've already lost him. He uninvited me from the wedding. Because I asked him to. I stared at her. What? I asked him to. Because my father's having a breakdown. Because every time he looks at Derek, he sees you, and it's tearing our family apart. Your family? Yes, my family, and Derek's family too, whether you like it or not. He's my son, and he's my fiancé, and he's stuck between you and my father, and it's destroying him. I looked away. I'm not a bad person, she said. I know you think I am. I know you think I'm some entitled snob who looks down on you, but I'm not. I just wanted my wedding to be perfect. I wanted my parents to be proud. I wanted Derek to fit in with my world. By erasing me. By not making him choose. But you made him choose anyway, and now everyone's miserable. So what do you want from me? I want you to stop. Please. Walk away from this. Let my father rebuild. Let Derek have his wedding. Let us all move forward. And if I don't, then you'll destroy everyone. My father, me, Derek, yourself. She stood up. I love Derek, she said. More than anything. But I can't marry him if this is what his life looks like. Fighting, anger, revenge. So please, David, if you love him too, stop. She walked away. I sat there on the bench. The pond was still, cold, empty. I thought about what she'd said, about Derek being stuck, about everyone being miserable, about me destroying everyone. I pulled out my phone and called James. I need to stop, I said. Stop what? All of it. The complaints, the investigation. I need to pull back. David, it's too late. The bank's already auditing Richard's finances. You can't unring that bell. There has to be something I can do. Not really. Once the process starts, it's out of your hands. So I just watch him go down? Yeah, that's what you wanted, isn't it? I hung up. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed next to Linda, staring at the ceiling. At 3 a.m, I got up and went to the study. It opened my laptop, started looking through Richard's financials again. He needed $15 million to restructure his debt. Without it, he'd lose everything. I had $40 million left in the trust. I could save him. The thought appeared in my mind like a crack in glass. Sudden. Unexpected. I could save him. It would be expensive. It would mean eating the loss on the Riverside property. It would mean withdrawing the complaint. It would mean swallowing my pride and my anger and my need for revenge. But it would save Derek. I sat there thinking. The sun came up. Linda found me in the study at 7, still sitting at my desk. "Did you sleep?" she asked. "No." "What are you doing?" "Thinking." She came around the desk and looked at my laptop. Financial spreadsheets, loan documents, numbers. "What is this?" she asked. Richard's debt. His lender wants $15 million to restructure. Without it, he's done." "And?" "I'm thinking about giving it to him." She stared at me. "What?" "I could save him. I could give him the money, restructure his debt, keep him afloat." "Why would you do that?" "For Derek." She sat down. "David, after everything you've done, everything you've said, now you want to save Richard?" "I don't want to, but I might have to." "Why?" "Because Vanessa's right. If I keep going, I'll lose Derek forever, and I can't lose him. He's my son." Linda reached across the desk and took my hand. "So you're going to give Richard $15 million. Maybe. And he'll never know it was you. He'll know, but he won't have a choice. He'll take the money or lose everything." "This is insane." "Probably. But you're going to do it anyway." "I don't know yet." I spent the next 2 days running numbers, calculating scenarios, talking to lawyers and accountants and financial advisors. The structure was simple. I'd create a new investment vehicle, an LLC, use it to inject capital into Richard's company in exchange for equity. Silent partner. No operational control, just money. It would cost me $15 million, but it would save Richard. And by extension, it would save Derek's wedding, Derek's future, Derek's relationship with me. Maybe. On the third day, I called Thomas Kerr, Richard's lawyer. "Mr. Kerr, this is David Brennan." "Mr. Brennan, I'm surprised to hear from you. I have a proposal." "What kind of proposal?" "I understand Richard's lender is requiring a capital restructuring, $15 million to satisfy the debt covenants." "That's confidential information." "I know a lot of confidential information. The question is, does Richard want help or not?" There was a long pause. Then, "What are you offering?" $15 million. Equity investment through a newly formed LLC. Silent partner. No board seat, no operational control, just capital." "Why would you do that?" "Because I don't want Richard to lose everything, and because I want my son at his wedding. This is a significant reversal from your previous position." "People change their minds." "What are your terms?" 20% equity, standard preferred shares. I want a return on the investment, but I'm not trying to take over his company. I'll need to discuss this with Richard." "You do that, but the offer expires in 48 hours. After that, I move on." "Understood." I hung up. Linda was standing in the doorway. "You really did it," she said. "I made an offer. He might not take it." "He'll take it. He has no choice." "Then I guess we'll see." Kerr called back the next morning. "Richard wants to meet," he said. "When?" "Today, noon, his office." "I'll be there." I showed up at 11:50. Same building, same floor, same conference room. But this time, Richard looked different, tired, older, defeated. "David," he said. No handshake this time. "Richard." We sat down. Kerr was there too, along with another man I didn't recognize, probably Richard's accountant. "Thomas told me about your offer," Richard said. $15 million for 20% equity." "That's right." "Why are you doing this?" "Does it matter?" "Yes, it does. A week ago you were trying to destroy me. Now you're offering to save me. That doesn't make sense. A week ago I was angry. Now I'm not." "What changed?" "I talked to Vanessa. She made me realize something." "What?" "That destroying you destroys Derek, and I'm not willing to do that." Richard leaned back. "So this is about your son?" "Yes." "Not about me." "No. I still think you're a pompous ass who treated me like I was beneath you. But Derek loves Vanessa, and Vanessa loves you, so I'm stuck with you." He almost smiled. "Fair enough." "Do we have a deal?" He looked at Kerr. They had a silent conversation. Then Richard turned back to me. "We have a deal, with one condition." "What?" "You come to the wedding. You walk Derek down the aisle with Linda. You give a speech at the reception. You act like a father, not an investor." I looked at him. "And you'll treat me with respect?" "I'll try." "That's all I ask." We shook hands. The paperwork took a week. Contracts, equity agreements, bank transfers. On Friday, I wired $15 million to Harrington Development Group. 20% of the company was now mine. I called Derek that night. "Hey, Dad." He sounded cautious. "I talked to Richard. I'm coming to the wedding." There was a long pause. Then, "What did you do?" "I invested in his company, helped him restructure his debt." "You what?" "15 million, silent partner. He keeps control. I just provide capital." "Dad, I don't know what to say." "Don't say anything. Just let me come to your wedding." "Of course." "God, of course. I'm sorry I uninvited you. I was just trying to keep everyone happy." "I know." "Thank you. Seriously, thank you." "You're welcome." I hung up and sat there. Linda came into the room. "He happy?" she asked. "Yeah." "And you? Are you happy?" "I don't know. Ask me after the wedding." The next 3 weeks were wedding preparation. Vanessa sent me the rehearsal dinner details. 40 people now, not 30. The Italian place on 5th was out. We were doing it at a private room at a steakhouse downtown. I paid for it without complaint. $8,000. Ridiculous, but I didn't care. Linda and I went shopping for wedding outfits. She bought a navy dress. I rented another tuxedo. This time it felt less like a costume. The rehearsal dinner was on a Friday. I arrived early. Linda was with me. The room was beautiful, dark wood, leather chairs, white tablecloths. Derek and Vanessa showed up at 6. Derek hugged me. "Thanks for doing this, Dad." "It's my pleasure." Vanessa kissed my cheek. "Thank you for everything." "You're welcome." The guests arrived. Family, friends, Vanessa's bridesmaids, Derek's groomsmen, people I'd never met but who seemed to know all about me. Richard and Patricia came in last. Richard shook my hand. Firm grip this time. Real. "David." "Richard." "Thank you for what you did. For the company. I know that wasn't easy." "No, it wasn't." "Why'd you do it?" "For Derek." He nodded. "Good answer." We sat down to dinner. I'd prepared a speech, short, heartfelt, about Derek growing up, about watching him become a man, about being proud of him. I stood up after the appetizers. "I'd like to say a few words." The room quieted. Derek's my son, my only child, and from the moment he was born, I wanted to give him everything, not just material things, but opportunities, education, a chance to build a life better than mine. I looked at Derek. He was watching me, his eyes shining. I've made mistakes as a father. I've been stubborn, proud, angry. But through all of it, I've loved you, and I'm proud of the man you've become. I turned to Vanessa. "Vanessa, I don't know you well yet, but I can see how much you love my son, and that's all I need to know. Welcome to the family." People clapped. Derek stood up and hugged me. Vanessa was crying. Richard stood up next. "I'd like to say something too." The room quieted again. "David, when you first came into our lives, I'll be honest, I didn't know what to make of you. You were different from the people we usually associate with. Different background, different world." I tensed. "But over the past few weeks, I've learned something. Class isn't about money. It's not about where you live or what you drive or who you know. It's about character. And David, you have more character than most of the people I've done business with in my entire life." He raised his glass. "To David, and to Derek and Vanessa. May their marriage be filled with love, respect, and the kind of strength David showed when he stepped up to help our family." People applauded. I stood there, not sure what to say. Linda squeezed my hand. The rest of the dinner was smooth. Good food, good conversation. People laughed, told stories. For the first time in months, I felt like I belonged. The wedding was the next day, Saturday, 2 o'clock. The Belmont estate was as impressive as I'd expected. Stone building, fountain, valet parking. I wore my tuxedo and felt almost comfortable. Linda looked beautiful in her navy dress. We sat in the 3rd row, not the front, not the back, somewhere in the middle. The ceremony was traditional. Derek stood at the altar, nervous and happy. Vanessa walked down the aisle in a white dress that probably cost more than my truck. They said their vows, exchanged rings, kissed. Everyone applauded. The reception was in the ballroom. 250 people. A band, a dance floor, tables with flowers and candles. Derek and Vanessa had their first dance. Then Derek danced with Patricia. Vanessa danced with Richard. Then Derek came over to me. "Dad, can we dance?" "I'm not much of a dancer. I don't care." We went to the dance floor. The band played something slow. We moved awkwardly, trying not to step on each other's feet. "Thank you," Derek said, "for everything." "You don't have to thank me." "Yes, I do. I know what you gave up. I know how hard it was. It was the right thing to do. Still, thank you." We danced in silence for a moment. Then Derek said, "I'm sorry for making you feel like you didn't matter. for not standing up for you, for all of it. You were trying to fit in, I understand. That's not an excuse. No, but it's human. The song ended. We hugged. I went back to Linda. She was smiling. See, she said, then this is better than revenge. Maybe. But as I watched Derek and Vanessa dance, as I saw Richard and Patricia laughing with their friends, I felt something sharp in my chest. Anger. Still there. Underneath everything. Because they still didn't know. They didn't know I'd investigated Richard. They didn't know I'd bought the Riverside property to hurt him. They didn't know I'd filed the complaint that nearly destroyed his company. They thought I'd saved him out of kindness. But I'd saved him out of necessity, to save Derek. Not because Richard deserved it. And that difference mattered. The reception went late. Dinner. Speeches. Dancing. At 10 o'clock, I found myself outside, standing by the fountain, smoking a cigarette I'd borrowed from one of the groomsmen. Richard came out a few minutes later. Didn't know you smoked, he said. I don't, usually. He stood next to me. We watched the fountain in silence. Hell of a night, he said. Yeah. Thank you again for the investment. I know it wasn't easy. No, it wasn't. Can I ask you something? Sure. Why did you really do it? And don't give me the line about Derek. There's more to it. I took a drag. You're right. There is more to it. What? I wanted to destroy you. I wanted to take everything you had and grind it into dust. Because you made me feel small. Because you treated me like I didn't matter. He was quiet. But then I realized something, I continued. Destroying you wouldn't make me bigger. It would just make me cruel, and I didn't want to be that person. So you saved me instead. I saved Derek. You were just collateral. He laughed, short and bitter. Fair enough. But I need you to understand something, Richard. I'm not your friend. I'm not your partner. I'm an investor who has a vested interest in your success. If you fail, I lose money, so I won't let you fail. That's comforting. It should be, because it means I'll be watching, always. And if you screw up, if you mismanage, if you put my investment at risk, I'll step in. And next time, I won't be so nice. He turned to me. You know, David, I think I underestimated you. Everyone does. He extended his hand. Partners? I looked at his hand, then at his face. The man who'd insulted me, who'd excluded me, who'd made my son ashamed of me. I shook his hand. Partners. We went back inside. The party continued until midnight. Derek and Vanessa left in a car covered in streamers and cans. Everyone waved goodbye. Linda and I drove home in silence. You did good tonight, she said. Thanks. How do you feel? Tired. That's not what I meant. I knew what she meant, but I didn't have an answer, because the truth was I didn't feel good. I felt hollow, like I'd won something and lost something at the same time. I'd saved my son, but I'd lost my revenge, and I wasn't sure which mattered more.